Holidays have a way of magnifying everything. Joy feels louder, absence feels heavier, and traditions, those quiet rituals we repeat year after year, suddenly carry more meaning than we ever realized. For Craig Melvin, one holiday season brought that truth into sharp focus. It wasn't a public announcement, there were no dramatic headlines, just a family moment unfolding behind closed doors, where love, disappointment, and resilience quietly collided. For years, the Melvin family had held on to a simple tradition. It wasn't extravagant or Instagram-worthy, no lavish trips or grand displays, just time, shared, predictable time, anchored around the holidays. The same familiar schedule, the same faces around the table, the same stories told again and again, growing slightly warmer with age. For families in their 60s, this feels familiar. Traditions aren't about novelty anymore. They're about continuity, about reassurance that some things, at least, remain steady as the world keeps changing. But that year, the tradition was threatened. Work demands tightened their grip, unexpected obligations surfaced, life, in all its unpredictability, refused to cooperate. And suddenly, the question arose, quietly but painfully, what if this year we can't keep it? Craig felt it immediately, not as frustration, but as loss. Because when you've lived long enough, you understand that traditions are more than habits. They're emotional anchors. They connect generations. They carry memory forward when time feels like it's slipping through your fingers. Behind his calm, familiar presence, Craig wrestled with something deeply human, the fear that letting go of this tradition might mean letting go of something irreplaceable. At home, the conversation was gentle but heavy. His wife, Lindsay, understood the weight of it instantly. She knew this wasn't about logistics, it was about legacy, about what their children would one day remember when they looked back on their own lives. Would they remember a house filled with presents or one shaped by absence? For many watching, this moment strikes close to home. At 60 or 65, you've likely seen traditions evolve, bend, or disappear altogether. Some faded slowly, others ended abruptly, and each time it left a quiet ache you couldn't quite name. The Melvin family decided to fight for it, not perfectly, not without compromise, but intentionally. They adjusted expectations, they simplified plans, they let go of what didn't matter so they could hold on to what did. Because sometimes preserving a tradition doesn't mean recreating it exactly as it was, it means protecting its spirit. The holiday morning didn't look like it used to, and that's what made it meaningful. There were moments of silence that hadn't been there before, pauses where someone felt missing even though everyone was present. Craig noticed those moments more than anyone else. They reminded him that time is never guaranteed. But they also reminded him that love adapts. As the day unfolded, laughter returned. Not forced, not loud, but genuine. Stories resurfaced, old jokes found new timing, and slowly the heartbreak softened into something gentler, acceptance. Craig later reflected that this holiday taught him a lesson he wished he'd learned sooner, that showing up, even imperfectly, matters more than maintaining appearances. The traditions survive not because they're flawless, but because people care enough to keep choosing them. For those in their 60s, this message resonates deeply. You've seen how quickly next year turns into memory. You've learned that moments don't wait until life slows down. What made this holiday different wasn't what almost didn't happen, but what did. A family choosing presence over pressure, connection over convenience, meaning over momentum. Craig understood that day that heartbreak and gratitude often coexist, that you can mourn what's changing while still celebrating what remains, and that traditions aren't fragile because they evolve, they're fragile only when we stop fighting for them. As evening settled in, the Melvin home grew quieter. The day didn't end with fanfare, just a shared understanding, unspoken but deeply felt, that this tradition, though altered, was still alive, and perhaps stronger for it. Because one day, long from now, their children will remember this holiday, not for what went wrong, but for how their family stayed together when it would have been easier not to. For viewers watching at 60 or 65, Craig Melvin's holiday heartbreak isn't just his story, it's a mirror. A reminder that the traditions we fight for today become the memories that comfort us tomorrow, that love isn't measured by perfection, but by persistence, and sometimes the most meaningful holidays are the ones that nearly slip away until we decide they matter too much to lose. In the end, the tradition didn't survive because it was easy, it survived because family chose it. And that choice, quiet, deliberate, and full of heart, is what made this holiday unforgettable.